China's Xi Jinping has recently acknowledged external uncertainties in his New Year's speech. How do you see China's behavior unfolding this year? Is the economic and political bubble under Xi becoming too large to sustain? Additionally, with reports of sudden virus outbreaks in China, do you think these could be deliberate disruptions? How should India prepare and respond proactively to avoid risks and ensure stability? So Xi Jinping has definitely, certainly, indeed acknowledged external uncertainties in his New Year speech. And well, every nation faces external uncertainties. There's always an environment outside of a nation, an environment you cannot directly control, that affects what happens to you, to your economy, to your nation, to your exports, imports, and so on and so forth, international relations, all of that. There's always external uncertainties. But what Xi Jinping is referring to is the re-election of Donald Trump, and we know that Donald Trump is a hawk when it comes to the US relationship with China. He is the president who started the US trade war against China by increasing the tariffs and trade barriers and all that. And he's gonna, once he is back in the White House, he's gonna push forward on that. He is right now like an elephant stomping around the room, right? He is planning to annex nations, entire nations, and that's going to totally upend the geopolitical chessboard, the geopolitical balance of power, the geopolitical equations, the set of equations, and so on. And that's going to be very concerning for China. When it comes to Biden, he himself has carried forward the trade war that Trump launched, and it's really affected China very badly. There's trade and tariff barriers all over the place for China. China is the world's largest manufacturer, but now with so many trade and tariff barriers, it doesn't make economic sense for nations to import goods from China because of the trade and tariff barriers, which makes the goods more expensive. So it makes sense to source them locally or from other places, right? And that's what the West is doing to China. The West obviously follows the lead of the US. So that's the deal. So China is facing a lot of pressure, increasing pressure. It's feeling the pinch. Um, so that's the situation with China. So that's the external uncertainties that President Xi Jinping was referring to. So how do I see China's behavior unfolding this year? They will continue the pressure on Taiwan. There's no doubt about that, and they will continue whatever uh, activities they do in the border regions, including the recently renamed, recently created new counties in Aksai Chin to kind of rile India to a bit. Yeah. Uh, so those provocative activities will continue. The pressure on Taiwan will continue. Maybe there'll be something with Japan, the Senkaku, Diaoyu Islands, that those overflights, the South China Sea issue will continue. So they won't pull down on any of that. But when it comes to the overall larger India-China relationship, they seem to be showing signs of wanting better relations. Well, we have to trust but verify, or rather verify and then think about trusting when it comes to China, because of the past 70 years of history, starting from the 1950s, in which we have, the Chinese have been extremely aggressive, and they have wanted to break up India. They have generals and writers who have written about the need to balkanize India. They've supported anti-India separatist activities in India's far east, in Nagaland and other places, and the whole history. There's been war. 1962, 1987 with China lost, 1967 with China lost, and so on. So there's this whole baggage of history that we have. And then there's the enormous undemarcated border, which obviously is the source of a lot of tension between India and China. So all of that is there, but the Chinese are showing signs of wanting things to become more normal, more normalization with India, maybe a détente, maybe a rapprochement or whatever. So we have to be very cautious when it comes to this. We have to take it one step at a time, very slowly proceed forward. And at the end of the day, the resolution to the entire issue is the demarcation of the border, but that's very far away. Until that's not done, things could blow up anytime, essentially. So there's been some pullback from both sides on the border, on the LAC, line of actual control. But we're going to have to be very cautious when it comes to our relationship with China. Maybe and it's very clear that because of the tremendous pressure they're facing from the US, that's why they want a better relationship with India. Because if India also decides that let's give up and die and become a US vassal, then it's very bad news for China, right? So that's why the Chinese seem to want a better relationship with India, but we're going to have to be very cautious about that. The sudden virus outbreaks, reports of that in China. Well, we have to keep an eye on that. I hope there's nothing serious. I don't think anybody in the world wants a repeat of what happened a few years ago. We don't want any of that again. I mean, that was devastating for the world. It was devastating for entire economies, for individuals, for families. We don't want that again. So I hope the Chinese government can control any potential virus outbreak, any future virus outbreak. I don't know if these could be deliberate disruptions. Can't speculate. But India is going to have to be very cautious when it comes to China. We should, if the Chinese are sincere in wanting better relations, we should very much welcome that. We have no civilizational or cultural or religious issues with China. It's just a border thing. Uh, so we should welcome Chinese intentions if they are sincere, and we should take it step by step, one step at a time. And I think that process is kind of happening. So it's by doing this confidence building measures and people to people connections and blah blah blah, all that stuff, that we could build more trust and hopefully ensure stability going forward in the long run.